Hello, fellow builders, and welcome back to the bench. I am your host, the Mediocre Modeler, and we took a little sabbatical from working on the Mandalorian armor. Sorry, buddy, but it it just got to be a lot going on there. There's so many different pieces, and a lot of those pieces I haven't even tried on at the same time. So that's always a learning experience. But we're back on it, we're back at it, and we're gonna get this leg armor going. Now, one thing I did do on the leg armor, I added this rim line, which matches on my shoulder pauldrons. I did the same thing. Yeah. So, just to make this look a little bit different, because these are basically the same shoulder pauldrons that I have for my clone armor, I added the rim around the edge, which is just basically cosplay foam, half round foam. So that they match, I did the same thing to the shoulder pauldrons, the leg guards. Now, I can go back and add it to the top if I want to, but I think I like it like this. I can add that at any time. But for right now, the main thing is that it didn't look so plain, because I like this upper edge. The lower was just flat. It wasn't interesting. I want it to be interesting. Interesting people. But the next key is to get this guy onto this guy. And how are we going to do? Okay, not this guy. Eventually this guy, but this guy. How do we do that? We use industrial strength Velcro. Now, this is just the Velcro. It's a combination. This is the industrial strength Velcro that you can get at any big box store. It comes in a roll like this. It's about $20 or so. Now, this is adhesive backed, which is okay for the plastic. On the cloth, like on the gloves, I have taken the contact cement and put it some on the cloth and some on the back of the adhesive, stuck it on there, and it actually did work. But in this case, I had some old, I don't, like I've said it in the past, be it a blessing or curse, I don't throw anything away. And I had some kind of strapping that had Velcro on it. And it had like both the hook and the loop. So since I put the hook side on the backs of the leg guards, I would have to sew these onto the leg portion of the jumpsuit. This was one of those situations where it was a little bit hard to do by myself, because I had to hold the leg guard, both of them, in position where I wanted them on my legs. And then I had Mrs. Mediocre Modeler take the fabric marking pencil and mark the outer edge on the leg, so I would know where to put the opposing side of the Velcro. But you know what this means? That means I have to use my nemesis, the sewing machine. I've said it in the past, I'm learning little by little, but I struggle, and I don't like to struggle. But we're gonna get the pieces sewn on and go from there. Well, folks, I should have taken this as a sign. After doing all the work of setting up the camera and getting in the right angle and everything, it only recorded for 5 seconds. I didn't have a big enough memory card in the camera. And that's not the worst of it. I went on ahead and did the sewing, and then this happened. That's right. I got bit. You guys wonder why I call this thing my nemesis? Well, this would be why. Well, it does remind me of that old joke. Hey, does your dog bite? No, that my dog does not bite. I thought you said your dog does not bite. That is not my dog. Well, moving on. Okay. I mean, it is what it is, but just a little blood, whatever. We got the pieces sewn down. So this is what we ended up with. Doesn't look great on both legs, but it is on there. So all we have to do is take our pieces and there's one. There's the other. And so like I said, I had to hold them on here, and the wife went around the edge with the marking pencil for me to know where to do the Velcro. I wanted to make sure I didn't have big gaps here, and I mean, look at that. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. So, we can put this part of the project to bed. Okay. Cat here. I thought I'd take a moment to go on ahead and try on the flak vest. Already got this on. Haven't had them on at the same time, so let's try doing that. Okay. Not gonna lie, it's kind of a struggle. Just a footnote. If you're gonna do this, keep in mind you may need a hand getting into and out of your stuff. The jumpsuit fits great. It's loose. It's, not a big deal. But trying to get the flak vest over it and then getting my snap snapped, the chest pieces make you lose range of motion. Now they're Velcroed on. I could certainly take them off one by one and then put them back on. But I like the alignment that I got, and I don't want to lose that alignment. So let's just keep that in the back of your mind. But for the most part, I think this all looks good together. It's coming together rather nicely. I'm still going to need... Okay, so I've got my pouch that's got my thermal detonators in it. That's going to go on one side. They'll probably put it on... You got to think about these things. You're going to have your thermal detonators. If you want to have a sidearm, if you're right or left-handed, if you want to leave room for your sidearm over here, then your thermal detonators or whatever is going to go over here. I'm still going to need another belt. There was also that cod piece that I had made. Here it is. So I took some heat to it and gave it a little bit of a bend, and so it should go somewhere in this neighborhood. Put Velcro on the back of it. It'll go there like that. Which, not bad. I like the color combo. It kind of flows. It does seem a bit small. So, anyway, we might modify that or whatever. Then you turn around to the back. So if I'm at a con and I'm walking towards you, hey, look, there goes Mandalorian. If I'm walking away from you, hey, there goes the janitor. We can't have that. We need to have something. I'll fix that later. Something to cover up the back. And that's where these snaps come in. Granted, we still have to do the shoulder bells, figure out how to get those on there. But these snaps, I wanted something to cover up the back. And honestly, I'm thinking maybe that's why the Mandalorian has a cape. Because his back looked like that too. And we don't want to look like the janitor. We want to look like a Mandalorian. So I figured I'm going to come up with a cape. What I did was I used this flak vest material and the pattern that made the flak vest, but I only made it like to this high. And I only made the back half of the flak vest. I extended it about an inch so it could come a little bit over the shoulder and snap to these snaps. What I came up with was, stand by. This bad boy here. So that's the back of it. No, that's the inside of it, actually. I wanted to get some of my color, my purple, and my shoulder guard's going to have a little bit of purple, so I had some single fold bias tape. I should know that. To line the edges out. The fabric is from a Jedi robe. But this goes on just like that. And from that point, it's just snap, snap, snap. Snap. Oh, come on. This is why you need a helper. Sometimes. Snap. And snap. Okay. So now it should look better. I gotta work on that. I want it to be more shreddy looking. But I got a story behind what these pieces mean. And my story is that when Order 66 happened, my Jedi faked his death, or he was off somewhere away from it, but he found out, he got Obi-Wan's message, and he didn't come back to the temple, and he needed a place to hide. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do the Mandalorian part of it. Maybe he was working with a Mandalorian that would allow him to hide or whatever, but he ends up putting on a Mandalorian costume. If his face is covered, then it's going to be hard to find him and kill him as a Jedi, as long as he doesn't use a lot of his Jedi powers. The further story on that would be that he spends the rest of his life seeking out Jedi and hidden Padawans and squirreling them away, getting them to the rebellion or someplace safe. So that's what I've got in my head. So this would be his homage to his life as a Jedi, part of his Jedi tunic and part of his Jedi robes. And I was also going to think of, I got to figure a way to, I've just got it pinned at the moment, but I want it to make sure it drapes over the shoulder. So I was thinking about figuring out a better way to pin it, and then I'm going to 3D print a napkin ring with the Jedi logo on it, so that if you turn it on the underside, you can't see it, it's just a ring, but if you look, after you do a real investigation, you can see that's him further doing his homage and honoring his Jedi heritage. Okay. One thing I haven't tried yet. So we're gonna move on to shoulder bells because that was totally awesome. So anyway, we're gonna move on to that. Let me get out of this, and we'll keep going. Okay, now that we're all out of that, what we need to do is obviously figure out how to get this guy on the shoulder. The different ways you can attach it. I could just get some fabric and attach it to the end of the flak vest, but I don't like the way it would hang off the shoulder. I like the idea of it sitting out here, and it just doesn't feel right being right on the shoulder. And if I did it with Velcro right on that fabric, that's what I would get. And even if I figured out a way to take like the strap and do that kind of deal there and attach it this way, of course, yeah, like that, it wouldn't feel right. I want this to move with my arm, and the only way I can do that is, and the curvature of this is pretty much set. I could probably adjust it, but there's a gap between my arm and here. So what we're going to do is fill it with our floor mat foam. So I cut this piece out, and I'm thinking, okay, so I had this big piece of foam from some kind of printer or something, because I knew it needed to be fairly thick. So I cut a hunk off of it, stuck it in there, and that was too much. I mean, it's sticking way out. I mean, if you think about it, it's just like, well, no military guy's going to have it that thick. So I figure half that thickness. This is not the right kind of foam to use for this particular thing. If I was building like a platform shoe or something, oh, I could totally build something off of that, because I could stand on that and it's not going to compress. You try and heat that, and it just deforms and it just loses all kinds of integrity. So this is no good. Oh. Let's try it again. This is no good. Okay. This, however, okay. Two things. In order to use the floor mat foam to be able to glue it down, this surface has got to come off. You have to take it, I usually take it to my belt sander and move it off. And then that way I use the two-part contact adhesive on there, on here and here, to get it to stick. But just as a texture, that looks great. I mean, if I wanted to do, I will be building something in the future with that texture. I mean, it looks like carbon fiber. That's beautiful. But anyway, so I need to build this up, and so I got one layer, and all I've done is heated it up with the heat gun and then just pressed it in and held it until it's holding that shape. And that's not quite, it needs another layer, so I'm going to have to cut another section of that out, glue that section to this section, and see if between the two it puts my shoulder right where I need it. Then all I'd have to do is take my Velcro. So on this end it'll be simple. Just take my Velcro with the adhesive back and just lay it, just cover the whole thing. Cover this whole area. The other part is just take the other side of the Velcro and just sew it directly onto the shoulder, and that way all I have to do is whoosh, and we're good to go. But we got to get the thickness right, so we're going to cut another one of these and see if that gets. I'd count Mississippi's, but that doesn't always work. I'm marking the location of the foam with the Sharpie so I don't put the adhesive outside of this square. No point in wasting extra adhesive. The adhesive on the back of the Velcro is probably enough to keep it on there, but just for a little bit of extra insurance, I like to put some of the contact adhesive on the back of the Velcro and stick it on there. Just a little bit of extra insurance to make sure it doesn't come off. And here you have it. This is the second one, the hero side. And it came out a little bit better, I think, than the first one. I cut these really long. Yeah, I cut it really long to make sure I had enough space. But as you can see on the shoulder, I only have a little bit. I only did 2 strips. And what I did to do that is I took the measuring tape, a sewing tape, and I measured across there, which ended up being about 5 inches. When you get up into the curve gets up into this part of the shoulder, which is going to be covered by the flak jacket, so there's no point in putting Velcro there. So that just left us down here. It only gives me that much grab space, but that should be enough. If sometime in the future I decide to forego the cape, which is quite possible, especially if I do a jetpack, then I could put another piece of Velcro across the top there, and it'll already be set up and it'll go right on. But the only problem I feel like I have is I can get them on there, get them and get a smack, and it's on there. Same thing on the other side. Get it lined up, give it a smack, and they're good to go. And that's what I wanted. They're doing exactly what I wanted. Wherever my arms go, and they're on there good. They're on there very well, because I did something on these that I didn't do on the legs, and I'm going to have to go back and do. What was that, mediocre modeler? Well, I'll tell you. When you put the Velcro down, because it's so wide, I went around the perimeter, but I also did an X in the middle to make sure the fabric stays down in the middle, so when you go to pull it off, it doesn't pull up, it doesn't bubble up. The legs, I didn't do that to, so they get bulgy in the center, so I probably need to take this off and sew it across and put my little X's in there. But for the most part, doesn't that look good? Doesn't that look good? For the most part, shoulder bells and leg guards, we're gonna call done. I know you want me to put it all together and all back on. 1 taste per night is all you get. You peeky one eye, you pay half. But we're gonna call this good because we're running a little bit long. So, I'm gonna say it once again. Go build something. It's your turn. Be safe, have fun, go build something. And we'll see you on the next one. I think we're getting pretty close to the end. I think all we have left is the sidearm and attaching the grenade pouch to the belt, which is going to be the same build. And I was also thinking, I've got the vibro blade, and I haven't found a place on it on the armor anywhere I could put it, but I thought it would be really cool to have the belt, right? And on the back of it, have it like that, and it's behind the cape, so I could always and pull it out. You know, it's just like, he's unarmed. Oh yeah, I'm unarmed. Yeah. So, enough talky. More buildy. Let's go. We'll see you next time. Pew 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 pew.